Welcome back. I'm gonna talk to you about the Sub2r software a little bit. I will make a YouTube video about it in a more serious fashion, I guess. But I'm just gonna talk about Sub2r a little bit now. So software-wise, you have two main things actually. There's Aria, that's a video preview software, and there's your control center software. So control center, that's this little thing. Aria, that's what we have on the right. So once you double click Aria, you have that little window that opens. You have like default settings to open, like you got to preview 1080p or 4K at different settings of FPS. So that's about it. Once you click on it, you get a nice window. If you right click, you have some options. Well, this is geometry, that's basically zoom stuff. Focus assist. That's if you can't see your own focus, like your preview focus. Well, you have this little software which is kind of helpful. I should be focused. I should be, oh, I was almost green. Ah, there we go. See? Pays attention to the middle. I'm focused. Good. Let's close it. Histograms. Well, if you use a DSLR, you should probably know that. Parade. That's the one I use a lot. For example, I want this as my white balance because it's white. I'm gonna go in the control center. I'm gonna modify just a little bit. Gonna pop the green a little lower. Oh no, actually red a little bit lower. Oops. And the blue. See? Well, something like that. Something else, actually, about the Aria software is you have CPU burn. So if you put it back up, see? It's almost like real time. If you put it down, refresh cycle is very slow. Put it back a little bit up. And if we zoom out, see? We have white balance. Achieved. See? This is white. This is wonderful. So Parade is very useful. What else do we have? We can proc amp, brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, noise filters, RGB transform. Hello. Not sure if CPU burn actually. Oh yes, it does. See? Wonderful. What's next? Technical details, if you want some technical details. Moving on to the control center. We have device. Well, this is your firmware info. Device. Depending on if you have like more than just one Sub2r. Oh, actually, about this tab, if you want to update your PGA or your FX3, you just drag it here, and boom, that's there. There you have an update. Now, in case you want to roll back, because well, actually, I am on a pre-release software. If it is buggy, and I want to go live stream without the bugs, just go firmware update and just roll back, upgrade. That's all you gotta do. Moving on, we have the sensor. This is basically everything that happens on the sensor. You have control over it. You will not have that type of stuff on a DSLR. Even DSLR, you're locked by what Nikon or Canon gives you. Sub2r, you have control over everything. No questions asked. You have control over everything. You have so much control that actually you can, if you are an advanced user, you know your programming skills and whatsoever, you know, a developer, you can go on FPGA console, sensor console. See, you could register valid pair. I mean, you can, if you want to fuck it up, you can fuck it up. The option is here. Let me tell you. So we're moving back to the sensor. You have some binning. Binning is basically low light optimization. So this is doing an average, which is darker, but it gives you less noise. And you got the sum, which gives you more light, but a little bit noise, a little bit more noise, which I actually still find it okay with on the maximum. Next, you have your RGB on the sensor itself. That's where I just modified before, like with the Parade. You can play with it here. The default value for the green. Everything is centered on the green, so the default value is 2024. That's the default value. And you move the rest accordingly. So if you go in camera, that's all the post-processing stuff. So if I move the white balance, it's gonna move this. So because if you don't want to fiddle with the RGB here, just go white balance in post-processing. If you don't want to fiddle with anything, you have automatic white balance and exposure. And auto function, if you ever leave it on auto. If your white balance, it's on 1400, white balance, you put it on auto, it's going on 1400 on the green, because the green, it's the primary one. If I change it here, see, that's your default. That's basically your default values. Same for exposure. Update. This is basically how fast you want to update white balance or exposure. For example, if I wanted to white balance on how fast you want it to go. So do you want it to go super fast or super slow? That's up to you to decide. So let's, for example, this. See? Do you see how the white balance changes? If I update interval. Well, maybe not 0, but see, it goes super fast now. See? You want to make it super slow. Boom. It's gonna take a while. It is gonna take some time. You get the idea now. You want automatic? You have the option to. But why would you? I mean, you're not gonna... I don't think you're gonna get a Sub2r to leave it on automatic. Just saying. Gain. So gain only kicks in if your exposure is at max settings. See? 0.9. There we go. Up. And when it's going at max, if you need more light, it's gonna tap into the gain. Also, gain plays a role in noise. Black level. What do you want your blackest level to be at? So you, 0, 1. Usually leave it pretty low. That depends on the look you want to have. FPS. So as you can see, because I am in France, if I leave it to 60 FPS, I have lines going over my face. That's because of light. We have 50 Hertz lights. I actually found out that since 60 Hertz doesn't really work because of the lines going over my face, well, because of the 50 Hertz lights, I'm going back to 58.580. That's my setting. It doesn't mess with my lights at that frame rate. It's close to 60, still smooth. It works fine. You can also keep in mind that if you go lower, you get more light out of it. So if you want to go at just 30 frames, for example, well, you have a lot more light now. So keep that in mind. Next, post-processing. I'm not gonna explain too much about that because, well, I mean, it's pretty much what you can find in other video devices. Sharpness, you don't really need that because, I mean, it's pretty sharp. I'm not gonna compare it to a C920, but C920 is definitely not sharp. And on OBS, I have the C920 sharpness cranked up a little bit. I don't need it here because Sub2r is really good, really good. Peripherals, for now, the option you have is you can control the LED of the Sub2r. And right now, it's a very light fade blue color. You can crank it up. You can make it white if you put them all three together. You can make it greenish. You can make it yellowish. You can, whatever you want. It's purplish now. It is really fun. You really want to customize it. What did I want to talk about next? Playground. Basically, you want to create some profiles. Configure. I have 5 profiles. So you put them on, you rename them. I'm gonna load my basic profile. And it also loads my LED, so I know which profile it is. So my main profile LED is blue. I got all my values. Load another profile, for example. Which one I'm gonna pick? Grunge, love. Oh, why not love? So lovely. There we go. And now I have a little purple LED. So I know this is my love profile. So lovely, isn't it? Romantic! And you have hotkeys for your presets. So there you go. Also, you can modify directly your profiles on simple notepad. See? If you want to. Playground actually, yeah, they can add some stuff. I mean, that's the thing with Sub2r. They can update the software. I mean, constantly they're adding stuff to it. So it's not, once again, it's not like your DSLR. There's always new features coming, always. What's next? Technical info, API command, if you want to see your logs, if you know how to use them, especially, I mean, if you're an advanced user. Manual DPC, the defective pixel calibration. This has been replaced with automatic DPC calibration. If you see some stuck pixels, very bright pixels on your image, click on that. Before beginning, you gotta close this. Make sure the front of the camera is covered. In my case, just use a black cloth, put it on the camera. Don't forget to turn off here your LED, because sometimes you have some light leakage from the LED around the sensor. So yeah, turn it off, and then you start the calibration, and it's good. You're all good. You're all set. Put back your LED light. Oh, it's red. It's wonderful. What's next? Reset the volume. No, that's a soft reset, like PC reboot, like it says. Refresh, preferences. So at default settings, this is actually not checked, but I have it checked. Color substitution setup. So this is basically, this is mostly your green screen friend. So it's a destructive pixel thing, remapping. For example, this is my Starbucks, wonderful Starbucks cup. So for example, I'm gonna click here. Gonna try and check this, enable. So if I want to put a green screen, maybe there's some color I want to, like a light shade of green or something that I want to get rid of. Well, there it is. Tolerance, lower bound saturation, upper bound. So dark luminance controls, dark dip, how much is dark, bright dip. See, you can put it to any color you want. Boom. Can have 4 bands, 4 individual bands. This is very, oh, my lips, wonderful. So you can like total control if you want to maximize your green screen settings. Oh, look, wonderful, don't I? Enable, disable. Now the biggest part, I keep the best for last. Let me open my color grading section. Ah, there we go. So this is basically your creative control over everything. Like if you want to go completely bonkers creatively, I guess we can say that. So you got hue versus hue, hue versus saturation, hue versus luminance, and luminance, or just luminance. How can I explain this in a very easy way? I guess I could take some presets. For example, here I'm going to take drawing. So this to me looks like a kind of a weird drawing like experience. Okay, I went complete ape shit with my luminance bar, as you can tell. See? You can go completely nuts. Whoa! Where did I go? I disappeared. That wasn't planned. Where am I? Help. You gotta help me. I'm completely... There we go. So if we look at the color grading, let's take a look at the last one. Oops. Well, that was wonderful. Thank you, Windows 10. Get back up. For example, the luminance on my face is a certain way. If I want to make it like more like mate, it looks more mate, like more pastel, I guess I can say. It looks like it has less definition now. And if I want the contrary, oop, there we go. Got a little more depth to it. The other one is basically it plays on the saturation of the luminance. So if you drag that down, as you can see, my face looks a little bit desaturated. Pull it up, got my face more saturated now. This is pretty rough explanation actually, yeah. If you want to play with darker spots, like in the back, darker spots in my image, less saturated now. I make it more saturated, look at this. You get the idea. So, push Alt and you click, and it drags a curve. You can pick up a spot, you can right click to get rid of the spot. You can take your hand off the Alt button, and it will drag individually. Or you can click Shift, and you'll play with 5 spots, sliders maybe. You want to return it to default, double right click. Hue, I'm gonna start with the top hue versus hue. What's highlighted in the middle, that's basically the default colors represented. So if I want, for example, let's make this red, for example. See, if I push it to the blue, I'm gonna try and make the cup blue. There we go, see? So this cup was blue. Well, it was red, now it's more blue. Because I pushed the default of the red into the blue. Wonderful. Hue versus saturation. Basically, you're gonna take, I'm gonna use my cup again, since it was red. If I want the red to be desaturated, that's what I'm gonna do. See, I desaturated my cup because I pull down basically the red spots. I mean the red sliders, red spots. So this is basically like a super creative control over what you can do with Sub2r. Color grading curves. Very useful. So you want to put more saturation in your reds, maybe change the reds to look a little bit more yellowish. You have a certain luminance that you want to desaturate. Actually, there's a good example in my presets. Quick preset. This one is completely wild. Drawing, I got pretty wild. It was my luminance curve. Playground, blush. So that's where I played with my basically luminance of my face. So I kind of desaturated the hue on everything except the reds. So saturation of luma. I played a little bit with the luminance. As you can see with this preset, I just made like my face blushing. It's basically concentrated around my face and it doesn't really play with anything else in the picture. That's why curves are very, color grading is very effective. Blush, love. So I played a little bit with my luminance curve. Also played with my saturation. Saturation to make my face a little less saturated. See? So if we put it back to neutral. See? So just to give it a little bit more of a creative, dreamy look, I call it. Dreamy look. Then I have grunge. Grunge also played a little bit with my luminance. As you can see, luminance towards my face. Well, I didn't have to play with my hue curves because, well, I am completely desaturated. 0. Oop. There we go. So that's basically a quick explanation of the software of Sub2r. Powerful tools. Don't forget the fact that you can open it. You can solder some stuff on it. You can change the sensor. You can change lenses. You can change the housing if you want. You can reprogram the board if you want to. This camera is as fun for programmers as it is for creative people. So that's why I feel bad that I don't know how to program stuff, because There's so much you can do with it. It's not a DSLR. It is definitely not a webcam. I mean, webcams they're complete garbage. Garbage. Do not buy a webcam, please. Just don't. This market should die, and we shouldn't look back at it. This thing is wonderful. That's all I can say. It's the Raspberry Pi of cameras. To me, that's what I call it. Because you just have total control. The amount of stuff you can do with it. And if you don't want to use USB, you can actually use the SFP module. And let's say if you need a super long distance, like you want to go from one house to another, just with an optical cable, boom, you can do it. You can do it with this camera. It is a wonderful product. So yeah, that was my little overview of the Sub2r camera. I've had it for about a week now. I am happy with it. And I'm discovering new things every day. And it's just total creative freedom. It's awesome. Thank you, Sub2r. Thank you for existing. Catch you later, guys.
Catch you later, guys. I am going to haunt you now for the rest of your life. Ah.